Hi guys, welcome back or welcome if you're new. My name is Tiana and I'm the maker behind Also Stitched, and today we have second episode of Knitting Podcast. It is the 15th of October and it's been almost 7 weeks since I filmed my last one, which is a long time, and I should be doing this more often because I end up with too many finished projects and a lot to talk about. I have 7 finished projects or objects, whatever you want to call them, and 12 beanies, which are also finished objects, so technically I have 19 finished objects. That's a lot. I should be definitely filming this more often just to make these videos easier for me, because just preparing for this video, gathering all the data was a lot. Let's start with what was my whip last time. I think there were only 2. One of my last whip was DK Vanilla Socks by Crazy Sock Lady, which I was making for my husband, and these are done in Bendigo Woolen Mills Classic wool, which is not a sock yarn, but it was a leftover and it was my scrap project. I just wanted to use the yarn and not have leftovers, so I made my husband a socks. This will be just the lounging socks, nothing special. They are very simple. It is actually a free pattern. On Ravelry it goes with a 2x2 ribbing, plain vanilla sock, slip stitch heel, and super easy. These were really quick to make. I decided to cast on the larger size, hoping that it will fit him, and it is a perfect fit and I'm happy. They're super nice and soft and thick. I do prefer fingering weight socks, but this was just me working through my leftovers, and yeah, I love the way this looks, and he said that they are very comfy and warm, and he will be wearing them probably next winter. We have plenty of time until he can wear them, but at least they are done and ready for him to be worn in the next winter. So yeah, just a quick update. This was my whip last time. It is finished. Like I mentioned, this is Bendigo Woolen Mills Classic 8-ply in color Mineral Mix. I've used a 3mm needle for this, and this was on my needles for 45 days. The amount of yarn used for this project is 114 grams, which is exactly 228 meters. So the pattern was free and the yarn cost was $14.30. Technically I wouldn't even count the yarn because it was leftover, but since I didn't count the remaining yarn in my husband's first project, so I'm gonna include it here. So yeah, this is my first finished object. My second finished object is Cardigan by Moreca Knit. I'm not gonna talk a lot about the issues I had with Cardigan. If you remember in my last video, if you watched that one, I talked a lot about the issue with ribbing. Being a combination continental knitter, I was struggling to get my stitches straight, and I promised I'm gonna do something about it and figure it out for my next video. I didn't prepare a lot, I have to admit, because I have no cardigan on my mind for the next couple of months, but I was swatching for something else and I was just curious, would this be better if I would to purl anti-clockwise like everyone else does, and it didn't look any better. So I decided I don't want to purl anti-clockwise. I'm just gonna keep my continental combination purling, which is purling clockwise, and it is just easier for me. That's how I learned, and I'm just not gonna change my technique. I have accepted that sometimes ribbing in that will be different. I will still experiment and try to find a better solution. I've noticed if I keep my stitches tight that they look so much nicer than if they are loose, which actually happened with this garment. What happened here is I was on gauge with 22 stitches when I started with the shoulder construction. So you start with the shoulder construction. I was on gauge. As I was knitting down the body, I went off gauge, and my gauge on the bottom is 19 stitches. So technically I made 5XL garment starting from large size. It fits me perfectly up here, but going down the bottom it's very wide, it's very loose, and and since I was making this as my house cardigan, I don't mind it. I will still wear it because it is intended for being around the house, just going for a dog walk or school run or something just to grab on quickly. So I don't mind it being this big and oversized. I don't even think Moreca Knits offers 5XL in her sizing. I managed to get it bigger than what she offers, but I do love the construction of this. This is such a beautiful and thoughtful pattern. There's so much to learn from. I love the 2x2 neckline, and then you have double knitted button band. As you can tell, I didn't put my buttons on because I couldn't decide. I'm gonna show you, I have two options at the moment, but I couldn't decide. And I'm not gonna wear this until winter next year, so it's gonna go in the storage for summer. I talked about the yarn. Yarn is Bendigo Woolen Mills Rustic Tweed. It is very itchy and prickling on me. That's why I went with the cardigan, and I can still feel it over the t-shirt. It is not the softest yarn. I have extremely sensitive skin, and that's why it was bothering me, and that's why I went with the cardigan. I still do like the way this looks like. I did use this back at the start of September because I cast it off this at 4th of September, and we still had a couple of cold days, so I had a chance to use it. It is really nice and comfortable to wear around the house. Too big to wear outside except for a dog walk, but still I do like it. I do recommend this pattern. I will probably making another one just because I like the construction, I like the fit. It is very engaging pattern, and I just wish I was more mindful when I was knitting it and didn't allow myself to get loose. I'm usually a tight knitter when I start a project, but as the project gets mindless, I tend to loosen up, and that's exactly what happened here. So from 22 stitches to 19, that is a huge difference. And I'm aware of that now. I'm very mindful and trying to keep my tension even through the project, throughout the whole project, and not allow myself to start with large and end up with 5 extra large. So yeah, there's not a lot to talk about this. I did talk about the yarn and everything in my first video. It is really beautiful cardigan, beautiful construction. Yarn I wouldn't recommend for anyone with sensitive skin. I would recommend if you want a jacket or cardigan, something like that, but this is not next to skin soft, something that I would wear as a sweater without t-shirt underneath. So this was done on a 4mm needles. Like I said, I did size large, ended up with 5 extra large, and this was on my needle for 46 days. The amount of yarn used for this project is 738 grams or 1,476 meters. Pattern cost $19.51. Don't forget I'm in Australia, so I'm talking Australian dollars, and yarn cost me $74. Altogether that was $93.51. It is a bit pricey, and I was intending to use all 4 balls from Bendigo Woolen Mills, but I still ended up with quite a lot leftovers. I was intending to put them in the body, but I undercalculated myself, so I still ended up with a lot left over, which we'll see what I will do with. So yeah, that was Paul Cardigan by Moreca Knit. Really nice pattern. That is by far the best ever written pattern I have worked with. She includes all the links to YouTube tutorials in the pattern, so it is such an easy way. All you need to do is click on the link and you will be taken to the YouTube tutorial. Unlike, for example, PetiteKnit, she also does offer all the video tutorials, but you have to go on her website, find the pattern, and under that pattern you will find the tutorials, while this one is all in the pattern, and I love that. She's very detailed and I love the attention to details. Just remember the buttons. I did bought these buttons from Wool Warehouse, so I had 2 options for buttons, light brown and dark brown. Unfortunately, this dark brown in person looks very orange. I'm not sure how the camera is gonna show it. I think I'm gonna use the dark brown, even though I don't like the cardigan, but this being a house cardigan, I just don't want to use the light brown because I do love the way the light brown looks like, and I would prefer to use it on a garment that I would actually wear outside. So this is just the toggle buttons, and I think I'm gonna go with this one because there is a lot of red and orange specks in this yarn, and I feel like this is gonna look okay. Like I said, for a house cardigan I don't mind, and for dog walks I couldn't care less. So I'm just gonna put the buttons that I like the least to save this one for any garment that I'm gonna make in future. I also finished another project that is not with me because it's in my market storage. I finished another December bow. That would be my 5th December bow this year that I have made. I usually make December bows as a palette cleanser. I just need something mindless to work on while I feel overwhelmed or sick of working on the other projects, so I quickly made another December bow. I usually bring them to my markets to sell them. This one didn't sell yet, it's in my storage down there. I just used some plush yarn, like a velvet plush yarn. It is also part of my stash busting. I've been stash busting a lot this year, that's why you will see numerous beanies that I have been making, and yeah, I just want to work through my stash and lower everything that I have because my stash is overflowing. It's usually the yarns that I use for my business, which are plush and acrylic yarns. So yeah, I'm just working through those and making some projects that I can sell or donate. December bows was on my needles for only one day. I didn't even calculate the cost of the yarn. The pattern cost me $9, but I have already made 5 of them this year, so it doesn't matter. My next finished object is what I'm wearing. This is another Tolsta tee. This is my 3rd one so far, and I decided to try a fingering weight. This is by far my favorite just because how lightweight and summery this feels. I do prefer fingering weight yarn for the t-shirts, even though I do like my other 2 ones I made. This one is definitely the comfiest. Tolsta tee is patterned by Creabea or Rebecca Clow. It's made out of Bendigo Woolen Mills 4-ply cotton. The navy part is called French navy. The white lines are called Parchment. It is done on 3.5mm needles. I did size 4 because I want it a bit loose. I was a bit off gauge, so I want it a bit loose because I'm a tight knitter. Especially when I'm working with cotton, I'm very conscious of stitch definition, and that's why I sized up, and it is a perfect fit for a summer tee. So yeah, I do like it. It's very comfortable and nice, and it fits perfect. Enough positive ease on me, and yeah, it is beautiful. I would like to make more of the fingering weight yarn t-shirts. They do take a long time because they are on smaller needles, but they are really worth. So this t-shirt was 27 days on my needles. It used only 217 grams of yarn and 905 meters. Pattern cost was $16.79, but like I said, this is my 3rd t-shirt, so it's already well worth. And Creabea has her mega patterns. You get a lot with her patterns. You get decay version, fingering weight version, you get a lot of mods for stripes, for eyelets, for long sleeves, short sleeves. There is so much that comes in her pattern, so it is really worth the price. And the yarn cost me $30, so altogether that was $46.79. Not too bad for a nice summer t-shirt. I do also have her Lusk tee. I didn't have a chance to make that one. I was contemplating should I make the Tolsta tee in this or Lusk tee, but I decided to go with Tolsta tee just for the stripes because Lusk tee is drop shoulder t-shirt, even though it's not a big drop shoulder, but the stripe would go along the body and then a long sleeve in the other direction, and I didn't like that, so I just went with this because I like on raglan how the stripes are going from sleeves to the body and they are matching really nicely. I do prefer that. So if when it comes to Lusk tee, I might just make it in a plain color or eyelets. We'll see. I'm not sure if it's gonna be possible for this summer. We'll see. I have plenty of time to make t-shirts. So my next finished project is Sophie's scarf by PetiteKnit. This is a very famous scarf. I think it comes in 2 sizes, like small and large. Mine is pretty big just because I had 2 skeins of yarn and I wanted to use both of them. so it is bigger. So it's pretty big for a Sophie scarf, as you can tell. And I don't mind it. It's definitely smaller than Sophie shawl, but bigger than Sophie scarf. You can still wrap it around and it works really nice. The reason I made this bigger because I had 2 skeins of yarn and I didn't want to have any leftovers. I just want to use everything I have. This might be a gift. I haven't decided yet. I'm not a huge fan of the yarn, so this was done in Drops Soft Tweed in color Cookie Dough. It is mix of alpaca and wool, but it is really prickling on me, so I wouldn't be able to wear this around my neck because of my skin sensitivity. It's kind of rough to the touch, not perfect for scarf. I like the color and I liked how, so I just decided to use that yarn for it and make a scarf. I'll probably gift this to someone. This was a really quick no-brainer pattern. I feel like everyone knows about Sophie's scarf. This is done on 3.5mm needles and this was on my needles for 16 days. It used 85 grams of yarn, which is weird because I did have 100 grams, but I think I was left with only 5 grams. That just shows that the skeins were not fully 50 grams. I didn't measure them before I started. I just worked increases with one skein and once I was done, did the creases with the other skein and that was it. And the meterage used was 221 meter. Pattern cost me $9.65 and the yarn cost was only $9. Drops yarn is really affordable yarn, but I won't be repurchasing Tweed because it is too prickling for my skin and I don't see myself wearing any garment out of this yarn. My next finished object is sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This is all over cable sweater and it is done in knitting for olive merino held together with soft silk mohair. This is the pattern where I wore my swatch under the bra and I did react to soft silk mohair and I realized that I do have sensitivity to mohair, which I still decided to make this because I have planned this and I had bought a yarn and I just didn't want a yarn to go to waste, so I still proceeded and made the garment. We'll see next year how I will be able to wear this. The thing is, it's really itching, it's really prickling and I don't enjoy wearing this. When it comes to this pattern, this is a really nice pattern. There's nothing wrong with the pattern, it's really good. What I don't like is how this is oversized. If I remember correctly, reading through the pattern notes on Ravelry for other people, everyone was complaining that this really is huge garment and I should have taken that into consideration and probably sized down. This is done on a 4.5mm needles, while this yarn two held together would be perfect on a 4mm needle. So the gauge was very open to start with, and what I don't like is how my pearls look like. I feel like I was also very loose while knitting this because I can see some bigger holes, which I don't like. My knit stitches look really good, but my pearl stitches in between the cables, I don't like how some of them are really holy. Like the holes are so big that I don't like that. I wish I did the whole garment on 4mm needles because I do think that the needles would suit better this yarn. A lot of people have done this garment in this yarn combination and I don't know, I just don't like it. I wish I was mindful and I went down a needle size, or if only I knitted this more tightly. Like I said, I was very loose while I was working on this compared to how normally I knit, just because I was struggling to do cables with my tight knitting. If I'm knitting tightly how I normally knit, I just couldn't do the cables. It was impossible to cross them and knit them because it was too tight. That's why I loosened up and ended up with these massive holes in my pearls, which I'm not a huge fan of it. And this is huge on me. I mean, it is intended to be huge. I think the intended positive ease is around 30 centimeters centimeters, which is huge. I don't mind having oversized sweaters. I do like to wear them. This being a full cable knit, I expected this to be like more occasional sweater, like you would wear for a special occasion because of the cables. But being this oversized, it cannot be like special occasion. This is gonna be like everyday grab and go sweater, which for me it's gonna be a problem with mohair. This is not something I'm gonna easily grab and go and wear on a daily basis. The second problem I do have is the collar. I try to block it scrunched so it doesn't stretch. At the moment it is not stretched, but I'm scared it's gonna stretch over time a lot, so I will be putting in elastic to keep the neckline closer and not stretching. The other issue is at the moment it's sticking out more than I like it than laying flat. So the construction for this garment is a standard European shoulder construction, when you start with the back panel and then pick up stitches for the front and then join them in the front, knit flat until you join in the round. And it being cables, they do stretch a lot on this shoulder part, and the weight of the sleeve, it just made the shoulders coming down even more than they should be, just because of the cables. They do stretch down. I feel like everywhere else cables look nice, but on shoulders, from the weight of the sleeves, they just tend to stretch a lot, and it gives that weird looking, I don't know, that's the only thing I'm not a huge fan of. This is actually my first thing knitting something with drop shoulder, but like I said, the drop shoulders tend to be like very low, and at the moment I'm not a huge fan of it. This is actually really long on me, which I don't mind. I could wear it over tights because it's completely covering my bum, so I don't mind wearing it over just the sport tights as a quick sweater, but we'll see when the winter comes how much I will be wearing and how my body will be tolerating the mohair. I made size medium and I was on gauge. It is true to size, and this was on my needles for 31 days. I've used 280 grams of Knitting for Olive merino, and I used 162 grams of soft silk mohair. Pattern cost me $14 and total amount of yarn cost me $149, and in total that is $163. This is a pretty expensive. At the same time, I don't think that Knitting for Olive is like an expensive yarn. There's still more expensive yarns than this, but I do like the merino part. We'll see how I will like the soft silk mohair. So yeah, this was just for me tests to see how I will like wearing soft silk mohair, and this was just me trying some cabling. I did enjoy cables, but I would definitely choose a different pattern if I were to choose working on cables next time. That was sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I feel like every project that I've been talking about has some issues, that something is wrong with it, except for this t-shirt. But all of these garments, they're all part of my learning curve, and it is still a learning process for me, and every one of them has a mistake or something that I have learned, something that I would change. And this t-shirt was my next project because I wanted to try lace work. I had some Drops Bell yarn in my stash. Drops Bell is mix of cotton, viscose and linen, and I was looking for some lace pattern t-shirt just to try the yarn and try the lace work, and that's where the Eba tee came. I think it's pronounced Eba, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. This is Eba tee by Sari Nordlund, and it is all over lace with this beautiful pattern. I did enjoy making this, and this yarn is really beautiful. Ignore the ends, they are woven in, I just didn't clip them. This is fresh off the blocking mats. I do weave my ends before blocking, but I don't clip them until it's off block, so I just didn't clip it, but it's woven in. I do like the way this looks, but I wasn't on gauge again, so I decided to go size needle up. I did this on 3.5 mil needles. The pattern calls for 3.25. It is more open gauge in the body, but I made a mistake, and when I switched to sleeves, I forgot that I went up size needle in the body, and I knit both sleeves on a 3.25 without realizing until I was done and went to update my Ravelry page and saw a note that I sized up a needle size and it was too late. I just couldn't be bothered to go back and fix the sleeves. So there is an issue with this garment. There is this whole section is kind of sticking out of my armpits. It's a bit too much. It's not a problem with the sleeves, it's problem in the body. If I didn't go up the needle size, I think I would avoid that because there is too much fabric in the body and that's why this is happening. So this whole part just sits like this on me. After trying this on, I am not huge fan of wearing lace work because this feels very ladylike and I don't wear things like that. Even when I worked my corporate job, I never wore things like that. I was wearing oversized suits on a basic t-shirts and yeah, I just don't see myself wearing this. It's not my style. I'm gonna keep it for this summer and see if I will wear it, but if I don't wear it, I will probably frog it and repurpose the yarn and make a basic t-shirt, something like this that I would happily wear because this is too nice and too preppy for me. It is a beautiful t-shirt. When you see it like this, it's beautiful. And even when I put it on, my husband liked it. He says, this is really beautiful. Why don't you wear more things like this? I'm like, just because I don't feel myself wearing this. It is too ladylike. I don't know why does that sound weird when I say ladylike? It's not that I'm not lady, I'm just not preppy. I'm like not girly. I was very much tomboy growing up and always wear oversized t-shirts and things like that. So I just don't feel like myself wearing this. The only place where I could see myself wearing was like, for example, if we were to go on a date nights or special occasions or some family gatherings, but I don't do that. We don't do date nights, we don't do anything special unless it's birthday, but even then we choose like casual settings. We don't have family in Australia, so we don't do family gatherings, so I don't even have an occasion to wear something like this. I'll just leave it for this summer and see how it goes. I might frog it in the end of the summer and make a basic tee out of it, something I would be able to wear. I do like the neckline. I do like how this lace work is framing the neckline. It doesn't come down very deep. It's really modest and beautiful. So I do like the yarn. This yarn is so drapey and so nice, and if I don't wear this, I'm gonna definitely repurpose the yarn and make something else because I have 9 skeins of these and it used only 6 and something. So the color shade is pearl, so this is Drops Bell, like I mentioned. I did size 3, which would fit me perfectly if I would stick to the size needle. It is a bit bigger in the body, perfect on the sleeves. This was on my needles for 25 days. It used 315 grams of yarn or 756 meters. Pattern cost $16.09, which I did find pretty expensive because I don't see myself making more than one of these t-shirts, and now if I'm gonna frog it, I probably won't have any. So I do find this pattern pretty pricey for what it is. There is no modification, there's nothing special in this pattern, for example like Creabea does, where you get a lot for $16. I'm not sure if Sari has all her patterns priced like that. I didn't check, but at least the yarn was cheaper. So Drops Bell, all these 6 and something skeins cost me $29, which is really cheap and really affordable, and I love this yarn. I see myself using this yarn a lot. They do say it is a dupe for Sandnes Garn Line. I would like to try Line, but I think I would prefer to try Tin Line just because Drops Bell doesn't have fingering weight yarn, but Tin Line is fingering, so just to compare the two, I might try Tin Line one day, who knows when. So altogether this project costed $45.09. And that is all when it comes to my 7 finished objects. I do have 12 that I mentioned in the beginning, and those 12 objects are beanies. If you have watched my last video where I talk more about the crochet and everything I do on a weekly basis, I mentioned that I am knitting beanies for charity. Litsa from Coco's Crochet channel, she's here on YouTube in case you are a crocheter and follow her along. Every year Litsa donates to a different charity in collaboration with other handcrafters. I think she works with people all around the world. It happens that she is in Sydney as I am, so I will probably be seeing her in person and giving all of these beanies in person. This year she has chosen to donate to a children charity. If I remember correctly, they are called Dandelion. I'm not sure. I'm just gonna link her video down below with all the details if any of you wants to join in. She will be accepting both crocheters and knitters because I don't crochet beanies. I just don't enjoy crocheting beanies. I prefer knitting beanies. That's why all my beanies are knitted, but I am crocheting a blanket that will go along with these beanies. I don't even think I mentioned this in my knitting podcast number 1 just because there was no time. That video was already 2 hours long when I was filming it. Over the winter I made around 17 beanies, adult size beanies, and then I sold one, gifted one, and I think I'm left with 15 at the moment. So once she announced that she will be donating to children charity, I decided to switch and make kid size beanies from babies to toddler sizes, and I'm working through my yarn stash, which is mostly acrylic. I have a lot of acrylic for my business in my stash, and for charity acrylic is the best because I just don't want people to bother with taking care of the wool garments while they are struggling in life in general. So acrylic beanies are the best beanies to be donated to charity for people in need. So I've been working through my stash and I made a couple of beanies. I'm just not gonna talk a lot about them because I have 12 of them and on weekly basis I do make a lot of them. So these are double-stranded beanies. I have combined patterns from Passionate Kelsey and Pearl Soho. These are all done on 8mm needles and they are done with holding 2 strands of DK yarn together. So I'm using 8-ply yarn held together to make these chunky beanies. They are old ribbed beanies. Let me show you a closer example of what they look like. They are just the basic 1x1 rib. They are very chunky, but they are so stretchy and they can fit any head size. So the pattern I was using was Chunky Beanie by Passionate Kelsey. She has one size fits all, and that's what I was using for making adult beanies. But to make kids beanies I switched to Pearl Soho because they have a smaller size. It is just the 44. It's both patterns are free patterns. So Pearl Soho has a 44 cast on for baby size, and that's what I was doing mostly. Some of them I did 48 cast on, some of them I did 52. If I do 56, that's adult size, I make it longer. So yeah, I'm just gonna quickly show you. I'm not gonna talk about each and every yarn that I use because this is just the acrylic yarn from Spotlight. If you're from Australia, you know what is Spotlight, and I'm working through my stash and I'm just gonna quickly show you all the colors. I already showed all of this in my last video, so I don't want to double talk for knitting and crocheting content. I do show them over there just because I do show my weekly makes and they are part of my weekly makes, but at the same time they are part of my knitting. So that's why I just want to quickly show them here. There is something in 1x1 ribbing that really relaxes me and I enjoy making these beanies. There is something really relaxing in working on a small circumference and doing 1x1 rib. This one is a bit bigger. This would fit probably a toddler, if not a bigger kid. And I made one adult one. Just for the reference, this is adult, this is baby size. and I do already have around 15 of this in my stash. And like I said in my previous videos, I will be bringing this to my next market because that market has a potential to sell beanies. If I do sell any and recoup some of my money, I'll be happy, because this project is for the next 6 months. We will be making for donation, so in next 6 months I can make so many of these beanies, and even if I sell any, I will be able to buy more yarn and to make more, and I don't mind doing that. And I forgot one more. I do have one that I tried, some brioche. I'm not gonna show you close up because honestly I'm embarrassed. The brioche part looks beautiful, but the crown is not as nice because I messed up the creases. So it will still work for a little one, but I messed up the decreases. So I was just trying some brioche, and that's it. That's all my 12 beanies that I've made. I have only one whip to show you because I will be casting on this evening 2 more projects. I'm gonna save that for my next video. I mean, I'm not gonna talk about it even as my future plans because I'm just gonna save it for my next video. I don't wanna keep this video too long, but this evening I will be casting 2 more projects because there is an exciting knit along that's coming around, so I'll talk about that in my next video. I have another muscle bra hat. It is a pattern by Isolda Teague. I already made one in my last video. It is just my project on the go whenever I'm traveling or doing school runs or anything like that. I like to have either muscle bra or just a mindless small project on the go. I think everyone is familiar with this hat, so I'm not gonna talk a lot. It is worked on 3mm needles and I am using Drops alpaca. This is very soft and I feel like after blocking this might be like a very sloppy muscle bra hat, so we'll see how this will look after blocking. The stitch definition is good. It has really nice fuzz halo to it. It really looks good, but we'll see how it will look after blocking because alpaca can soften up a lot and stretch, so we'll see how this will look. I have no person in mind for this hat. This is just my mindless project, probably a gift knit. We'll see what will happen with this. There is not a lot of progress, and because I have not been traveling or going anywhere, so I haven't worked on this a lot. So this is all my finished objects and one whip at the moment. I'm gonna try and film my knitting podcast more often just to try keep up with everything, because I do find this really overwhelming sitting down and talking about 7 + 12 beanies. I mean, it's a lot, and I tend to procrastinate sitting down and talking when I have a lot to talk. So I think I'm just gonna try do this fortnightly. I think fortnightly would be the best way to do it, to keep track with everything. I hope you liked it. I hope the lighting was good. I do struggle in this room with the lighting, but I cannot film it in my craft room because I don't have enough space for a clothing rack or to even show you the clothes, because my craft room is really small and full of everything. So that's why I'm filming in my bedroom, and I do struggle with lighting here. Even if I were to open blinds to have a full daylight, I will struggle with glare in my glasses. That's the second biggest problem I have, is the glare in my glasses. So I do have Ravelry as also stitched. At the moment I only have newest project up there. I am working on putting everything that I have already worked on. Some of these projects are not on Ravelry, some of them are. I'm still working on them to update everything. So in case I forgot any details and you would like more information, feel free to comment down below and I will answer for sure. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting!